Welcome back. This is episode 10 of We Are Everywhere podcast, the We Are Everywhere podcast. I don't know why I struggle with the name so much. You'd think I would know the own name of my podcast, but episode 10. And this guest is another person of the Oklahoma flavor. And we were talking a little bit before we started rolling here. We've ran in the same circles. We've seen each other at a few shows here and there, but we really don't know each other's stories per se. So this should be a fun one. It's a mix of both worlds. Someone I know, but also don't know. Episode 10, Mr. Garret Pugsley. What's up, man?
Clay, what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing good. And so all of your close friends, I can tell by your name there, Pugs or Pugsley. Like, what do you go by?
Yeah. Everybody calls me Pugs.
Pugs?
Yeah.
Dude,
But
and
Pugsley's fine, just whatever.
cool. And what a dope nickname. Just like like you hit the jackpot on just like coming off of like getting a dope ass nickname off of just your last name, dude.
Yeah, I know. It always kind of worked out, you know?
Yeah. So, like I said, another Oklahoma guy. I've seen each other. I think the first time that I met you, like actually met you, was at the Phish show in St. Louis.
Okay,
You went.
I was trying to think of when I met you. I couldn't remember.
I think that's when, because I went with a couple of people from my crew. You were there with Leonard and
Mhm.
and Knox. Was Knox there?
No, Knox one there is with Leonard and Matt Blake. Yeah, I don't know
Okay,
if you
see, I
know
don't
him.
know
He's from
him.
Tulsa. Yeah.
Yeah. So I believe, from my memory at least, which is really bad at best, I believe that's where we first met, and then I'm sure we've seen each other at Dick's a couple of times and a few other shows here and there around Oklahoma City. So, what's your story, man? Like,
Yeah.
you grew up with Leonard, is that correct?
Yeah, so, I mean, God, I think I met Leonard in probably like sixth grade or something like that.
Okay,
Anyway,
so
just kind of,
school friends.
yeah, school friends, known him forever, born and raised in OKC, so know all of those guys and running those crews.
Yeah, man. So when so I going back to Leonard's episode where he was talking about how he got into Phish
Hmm.
and like the path and everything with that. So with you, do you have a similar story, or what does your path look like? Like, when was that first moment that you heard Phish and that you were like, okay, this is something interesting, this is something new, and like,
Yeah.
what got you hooked, man?
Okay, so I'll kind of go into it. To start out, my sister liked fish, and her friends did,
And
and we
she's
were
your
living.
older sister?
Yeah, my older sister.
Okay.
She's 4 years older.
Okay.
So we were living in the Woodlands, Texas at the time,
Okay.
and I was this is 1998, so I was 14 years old, and she had a bunch of friends come to the Woodlands to go see Fish. And they had an extra ticket. I didn't know who Fish was, and I was going to Metallica the next day.
Oh,
So I was like,
wicked.
nah. I was like, nah, I don't want to go. So I didn't go to the show.
Oh,
Could
bummer.
have seen Fish in '98, and I didn't. Uh, anyway, so they come back and they're like, oh my god, you should have come with us. Da, 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 da. So I'm like, all right, fine. Like I'm gonna listen to it. She gives me Billy Breathes and plays Talk and Billy Breathes, and I was like, what is this? Like, I just went to
And
Metallica. Like,
you're talking like the studio
yeah,
cut?
the
Okay,
studio,
gotcha.
and that's what my sister told me to listen to after I'd missed the Fish show, and I'm like, I didn't want to go see that. Like, what are these slow love songs? Like I want to hear Master of Puppets.
Yeah.
But anyway, but I was like, okay, so I kind of like kept listening to the album. Then you hear Free and Character Zero and stuff. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
this is all right. So then the more I kind of listened to it, and she had Hoist too, and I started listening to Hoist. And the more I would listen to it, the more I was kind of like, okay, this is cool. And then, at the end of Hoist, when it does, it's a demand, but then at the end, it does that split open and melt jam.
I'd have to listen to the actual
Yeah, and that's
studio
the
album.
studio. Anyway, so I heard that, and I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. So then, we're in high school, and a friend of mine was like, yeah, man, Phish is pretty good. I'll get you a Phish CD. He was like, all right. So I drove him home from school, and he was going to get me one. What he didn't tell me is he went to a Blockbuster Music. If you remember when they had those,
Oh yeah.
and he just stole a live one, just jacked it from there and gave
Just
it to me.
stole it?
It was like here you go. So he took that and the So Many Roads Grateful Dead box set. So I was like,
Oh, that's dope.
okay, cool. But anyway, it was the Stash on a live one where I was like, okay, I was like, this is it for me. This is what I like.
Yeah.
And anyway, yeah, so it kind of went from there.
Dude, yeah, and it's so interesting to hear this because one of the questions that I typically ask on this podcast is, you know, if you were going to show Phish to someone that has never heard of them, you know, what would be your go-to? And everybody's answer is like, well, I need to know the person, you know, I need to know like what they're into, and just knowing that, like you were saying, you were going to see Metallica the next day before your sister and them went, knowing that like you're into that. It's so funny. Well, it's not funny. It's like really cool that Stash is obviously like what got you to where you're like, it's
Yeah.
weird enough, but it's like kind of rock and roll, but like with some weird elements mixed in, and like it makes sense, you know?
Yeah, like I'm a guitar player, so just that whole like intro riff and all that stuff, and the whole compose section in the beginning, I was just like, oh man, I was like, this is amazing.
Dude,
Know
yeah,
people did this. Like,
I'm a guitar player. Well, I used to be a guitar player. I've got 3 of them hanging on my wall right now. And Stash has always been one of my. It's the same thing, you know. It piqued my interest. I'm like, oh,
yeah,
what's going on here? So, have you ever attempted to learn Stash on the guitar, or do you know it?
yeah, I can play it. It doesn't sound like when Trey plays it.
Sure.
But I mean, I can get through. I mean, I can get through like the intro and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah, that's the furthest I ever got. You know, like
yeah.
the same. I get through the intro, and then I'm like,
And then
okay,
it's
this
kind
is
of like,
enough.
yeah.
Then I'll just turn on the backing track and like jam to it.
Exactly.
So I'm curious. You said that you, in '98, like whenever your sister went to, you know, the show, and
Yeah.
you declined because you were prepping for Metallica. That was obviously
14,
gonna,
so I didn't know.
yeah, that was gonna be, you know, a 1.0 show. So when and where did you finally, you know, after, you know, you get this Billy Breathe out of the way and you hoist and you get your Stash off a live one and you're like hooked on it? When and where was your first show?
Sure. I'd like to say, by the way, I love Billy Breathes now. It's like one of my favorite albums.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Yeah. But no, so my first show was New Year's Eve 2002 in Madison Square Garden.
Dope.
Yeah, and like I said, Leonard came through. Somehow he got us tickets and got us. He told you kind of on his deal. We got those backstage passes and stuff.
Yeah.
Which, if you don't mind, I brought a show and tell because he was talking about it. I just wanted to show you what it looks like.
Dude, absolutely.
Let's see. Can you see that?
That's the actual backstage pass.
Yeah, that's it. So see, it's got like John Travolta on it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is that Mike? Who is that?
Yeah, it's John Travolta, and it's called the Barbarino Pass. It's from that Welcome Back Kotter show.
Weird.
Like
I'm
the
not familiar
70s.
with that show.
No, I think it's before our time.
So
But-
is that book that you have there? Is that just full of all of your ticket stubs and Phish memorabilia?
yeah, they're my stubs and yeah, just random stuff.
And it's all Phish related or like music
No,
related?
no, it's not all Phish. It's just everything, like every show I've been to.
That's dope,
I
man.
go to a lot of shows. Like I went to Marcus King a couple days ago. It was amazing.
Dude, and Marcus King, there's some, and I'll call them up and comers, and I'll throw like Billy Strings in that category too,
Yeah.
just because they're younger, you know. But like Marcus King, Billy Strings, like there is people, you know, get jaded about music, and they're like, oh, this is the best era of music, and this and that.
There's
But
some good ones now, man. Like,
there's some good ones coming in, and just by looking at Marcus King, like you wouldn't. He sounds, whenever he sings and plays, he sounds like a 75-year-old black man, but he's just got so much soul.
Like and
Dude,
yeah, he was
he's a
great.
rip.
Like I definitely recommend seeing him.
Yeah, and
But-
there's a couple of clips floating around the internet from like where him and Billy Strings like played together, and you wouldn't think.
I bet
Well, I
that's
mean,
cool.
yeah, I guess you would think like because he's a blues guy, and then Billy Strings is obviously bluegrass, but they mix so well together. They could start a band of their own.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Right on.
I'd go see it.
Yeah, for sure.
One of the things that after talking with a little birdie that flew on my window, looked a little bit like the bird that's on your shirt there. They told me that you are what is considered a Phish purist.
I just first heard that term the other day. So he mentioned it to me.
Yeah. So with that in mind, I kind of want to go down that road a little bit, because you have people, I mean, with all of, the shows that you go to, you see people that are there just to party. You see people there that it's their first show and they don't know who the band is and they're just tagging along with their friends. You see diehard vets who walk out at set break because they're not doing this. In your opinion, and like with how you are presented in this, like what in your mind is a Phish purist?
Well, I don't know. So I think the reason I was described that way. Oh, let me see. I'll give you a story to kind of make an example. So I was living with a guy, and he won the Phish lottery for Hampton 09.
Oh, nice.
He didn't know he won. And when the mailman came to deliver them, I answered the door. So I'm holding these tickets in my hand, and I'm like, I call him and I'm like, dude, you got Phish tickets. You have Hampton tickets. Like, I'm holding them in my hand. He's like, no. I was like, yeah, you did. So anyway, he couldn't go. He didn't even realize he got them, and wanted to sell them on eBay for, however much over face. I out of principle think that's wrong. You got these Phish tickets, your friends are dying to go, sell them to your friends for what you paid for them, I think the secondary market, I hate it, and so I ended up, somehow I talked to Leonard and got Leonard at least one of the nights, if not two, for a decent price. And then some other guy had bought them on eBay, and then my buddy had me help him mail them. So I had to mail the tickets too. And keep in mind, I wanted to go. I just couldn't pay what he was asking. Anyway, and so I ended up writing the guy a letter saying, I'm sorry, my friend overcharged you for these. I feel terrible about it. And mailed him the ticket. So there's that. And I hate the poster market. I have my Phish posters and stuff. They're $50 at a show, and somebody wants to charge me $400 for it. Give me a break.
Dude, there is some huge upsell on all of that.
Yeah, and it's stuff like that, the people who are on Twitter and try to make a big deal that they go to Phish all the time, want to be famous, and it drives me crazy. I can't stand it.
Dude, yeah. Dude, Phish Twitter and Phish Twitter in itself, man, is one of those to where, because I consider myself to have, as I'm sure that every fan does, a decent, amount of knowledge and, just how I feel and care about the band. It's without being dramatic, it's kind of my life, like a lot of people it is.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I see, Phish Twitter, which is probably why I've shit on Phish Twitter on a handful of these episodes, which is probably why nothing ever gets retweeted from the podcast. But it's just so I'm like, who are these people? It's so self-righteous, and they're and they all seem super young too. I'm like, who are you?
I don't know. Except my Twitters and Facebook and Instagram, they're all deactivated, and apparently you can't just delete them. You have to go through a process.
Dude, it's
hard. So I'm waiting for Facebook to let me delete it. But I haven't kept it in years.
So you still currently have one. It's just
I think
purgatory.
I think
Facebook purgatory.
Not 100%. That's why, you've got your at it's Clay Bird, and mine just says my name
Dude, yeah, being so outside of this podcast, what I do for work is I work in the radio industry. So with that being, said, I'm constantly having to post and, see what's trending. It's just like part of the gig.
Stuff like that.
And
Yeah.
if I didn't work in the industry that I do, I would probably be doing the same thing that you are, because it's just it's
too much, man.
exhausting.
Like,
It is.
like you get on those Phish pages and every show sucks, and it's like, it doesn't. Like,
Yeah, dude. It's no matter what, someone's gonna find something to bitch about. And I mean,
exactly.
and I'll say, like, firsthand, I've been that person before.
Oh,
It's
me
like
too. When I was younger, I was for sure.
the show comes out, or you're streaming the show or keeping up with the set list, and you're like, damn. Or on the flip side, you're like, dude, this looks dope on paper, and then you listen to it and you're like, what the fuck was that? So I've been guilty of that myself. But one thing that you said resonated with me whenever you first started talking about the like being a purist. And we both relate on this. I'm in a group chat with a couple of our mutual friends, and I won't out them right here, but talking about the reselling value of tickets and stuff. A conversation started happening this week about reselling and getting tickets and things like that. And I was actually surprised. It was one of those where I was like the Homer Simpson meme. I just kind of like faded into
kind
the
of back
bushes.
out and come back in.
I didn't say anything. But basically everyone in the group chat was like, well, one, they were like, I would hook my friends up, at face value. But they were like, dude, I would also scalp the tickets for as much as I could get them, because why not? And like half of me was like, damn, like,
I mean,
really?
I get both sides of it.
I know.
Because money's money, but I just want to see the Phish show, like, it's a whole transcendent experience for me. So like,
yeah, exactly. And
and
if you're getting the ticket to someone that's, wanting to go for the show and not, these XYZ reasons, then yeah, like hook them up for face. But I don't know, man. It was just one of those to where hearing you talk about it, like being like the purist of it, of like, face or nothing, like I hate scalpers. I'm with you. And just like seeing that conversation take place, I was like, oh, okay. I see, kind of see it.
Yeah,
but I also,
yeah,
I also understand the other side. Like if you hit face or if you hit lotto or whatever and you can't go, and the tickets are going for, let's just say, $200 a pop. It's a super whatever show.
I mean, I get it. You're strapped for cash, and but it's not just that. Like, I do understand there are times, but just in general, I wouldn't do that. I've also never sold my Phish tickets, so.
Yeah, so I've been grateful to never have to do that.
I'm gonna go. But.
Yeah, exactly, dude. And I know that whenever this episode comes out, the second that person gets to this part in the podcast, they're gonna text both of us, probably in a group text.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. So moving out of the purist Phish talk, we have some similarities with that for sure. I know it, and you've also been described to me as like a Phish OG, which I always I used to get really nervous, or I guess nervous isn't the right word. I would get like prideful whenever I was younger and like getting into Phish, because it seemed like at that time, like it's almost like the Boy Scouts, like you have like these badges, like whether it's show count or whether how many jams you have memorized, or, what your favorite era of Phish is. So having you been described as like a Phish OG, I'm kind of curious to see like what your answer will be on this. And it's a hard question. It's almost an impossible question. But if you had to pick a favorite jam of all time, it's the desert island question. You can take one copy of one jam that's the only thing you get to listen to.
One.
Yeah.
Man, that's so hard. Okay, I'm going to go a little off the radar.
Okay, let's do it.
So it's 11/17/97. That's the McNichols Denver show with the Ghost.
Yep.
the Tweezer opener.
The
It
Tweezer.
is like the epitome of cowfunk '97 fall Phish. It's so good, and it's kind of, if you listen to like the Great Went Tweezer, they're kind of the same, but it's like, I don't know. There's like this little stop start part at the end, and then like, I don't know. It's real funky, and I like kind of what Mike's doing. And Trey's like real patient on the wah, just kind of doing his little groove.
Yeah.
That's probably my favorite Phish jam. It's not even that long. It's like 18 minutes long. But
Yeah.
it's just so good. And
Dude,
there's another one too. It's a 46 days. This one's only like 12 minutes long. It's from Dick's 2018.
okay.
There's just like this little like 3 or 4 minute period that is like almost everything I love about Phish, just like thrown into this little part.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I've been to every Dick's run except for whenever I moved out of Oklahoma. I left Oklahoma for a while,
Mhm.
or not a while. I'm still not in Oklahoma. But when I left Oklahoma and moved to the West Coast, I was obviously like strapped for cash, and Dick's being where it's located, it's like basically like a hometown show in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
So I think that that's one of the runs that I missed because I wasn't there at the time. So I'm not super familiar with it.
That's the 2018 Dick's run. All 3 nights are really good. It's one of my favorite ones.
Damn.
But anyway, yeah, it's like I say, it's this 46 days, it's like 12 minutes long, and I think they open the second set a Saturday night with it.
Gotcha.
It's awesome. And I'm trying to think. There's a Mike song from the Gorge '98, and they go into like, it's about as like metal as I've ever heard Phish do. And
Oh, okay.
obviously, I was talking about Metallica earlier. I always have like this kind of secret that I like love heavy metal.
Dude, so do I.
Which I went and saw Tool the other day too. It's amazing.
Really?
Yeah.
In Oklahoma City or Tulsa?
It's in Tulsa. Yeah, it's like a week ago.
Damn, dude.
But anyway, that Mike's is really good too. It's kind of it's another one. It kind of goes out there, and then it's kind of a little heavier, and yeah, it's good.
I'm gonna make a note of that. You said Mike's from Gorge '98.
Yeah, I can't remember which night it is. I think it's the first night.
I'll find it, dude. Because I'm with you. I like the heavy stuff. I listen to all kinds of metal, and like with metal, like there's so many subgenres that I'm not familiar with. I just know whenever I'll turn on Spotify or Pandora or whatever and just like click on a band and then like let that radio play or whatever.
Yeah.
And then whenever I find one, I'm like, oh shit, okay, this is dope. And I'll listen to it. But dude, the heavy stuff, like I'm into it. Oh, and that reminds me, not to go on too much of a tangent, but are you familiar with there's an app, and I could be like late to the party on this. There's an app called Phish Just Jams. Do you know about this?
Nope.
So it's someone, and I wish that I had looked and I could give them proper credit, but what they've done is they've taken basically every jam that Phish has done and cut off the song parts. So
cut off. It's just the jam part.
It's just the jam, and they have it so categorized. Like you can pick it by year, by venue. You can even pick it by style. They have like you can click on Bliss, you can click on Machine Gun Tray, you can click on Hose Jams, and then you can also filter it by year.
Check that out for sure,
dude. Yeah, and there's also a category called Evil, which is what made me think of this.
Oh, that's
dude.
If you want an Evil, 12, 30, 12 Carini is. That's like the darkest Phish jam I've ever heard.
Yeah,
it's so good.
Dude, I love it when they go dark, dude. And like you've seen like those like with the whole play off of the Make America Great Again, there's stickers that say like Make Phish Evil Again.
Make Phish again.
Dude, I love those. I love those, man. But dude, yeah, check out that app, Phish Just Jams. Because it just literally cuts off everything and you just get like the good stuff.
I'll check that out. I'd like that.
Yeah. So we kind of already touched on this earlier about playing a song or a show or an album for someone that has never heard Phish, one, have you had to do this before? I'm sure that you have. And two, what is your go-to to try and convert someone to love the band?
Harry Hood, every time.
Dude.
Every single time, because I feel like if you listen to a Harry Hood, it's got your composition part, it's got your bliss jams. Sometimes it'll go type 2. It's got your, like kind of triumphant ending. It's got everything, right? It takes you on the whole thing. So if you don't like Harry Hood, you won't like Phish. It's kind of how I feel. And
that's the most concise and perfect answer that I've got.
Well, thanks. I mean, think about it. I played Phish for a lot of people who are like, "Well, why are you obsessed with this?" And after so many years, I was like, Hood. It's one.
Is there any specific version that you go to with Hood?
Yeah, 12/31/93.
12/31/93.
I think it's Boston Garden. Yeah.
Yeah. I got schooled on that and on like episode 3 because that was someone's first show, I think. I don't know if I'm familiar.
No one doesn't go type 2 or anything. It's just it's got like the real kind of bliss Hood, and it's
just perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that. On the flip side of that, what would be a Phish song that you're okay with never hearing again?
Never hearing again? Okay. So as far as like on an album, the song Friends, I think, is the worst Phish song. It's terrible. But
Friends? I don't even know if I'm familiar with it.
They've only played it twice ever in 26. It's the first song on Big Boat.
Oh,
anyway,
okay. That's probably why I'm not familiar with it.
Yeah, but anyway, they'll never play that. As far as like songs they play, I can't stand Backwards Down the Number Line, and I can't stand More. Like, I've had enough.
They're on a big More kick.
But between those two songs, I feel like they're both kind of the same. It's like super cheesy, and then it's like Trey will kind of do his little guitar part and whatever. And I don't know. Like I was tired of Numberline in like 2009, and they keep going with it. So
yeah,
this is like I remember. I think it was the first Dicks. They encored with Numberline after 3 days, and I'm sitting here going, "You didn't play Reba, you didn't play Yim, you didn't play like Fluffhead and all this stuff, but by God, we can encore with Numberline."
Yeah, and this is the part, like what we were talking about earlier. This is the part where I can get on board with like the quote unquote like shitting on the band. It's where it's like, come on, man. It's not just a 3-night run. It's a 3-night run at Dick's, and like you have all of these monsters left like on the table, and you're gonna hit us with a Backwards Down the Number Line. I'm with you, but I think that's.
I used to hate, but now it's like whatever. I love the band so much, like who cares?
Yeah,
like, I can deal with 7 minutes of Numberline and on to the next one.
Yeah, and I think that kind of like touches back to like with what we were saying about the type of music that we like outside of Phish. You mentioned Metallica, and like metal and things like that. So of course,
I listen to like jazz a lot and blues.
What kind of jazz do you like?
Wes Montgomery is my favorite. He's a guitar player.
Oh yeah, I'm super familiar. Yeah,
okay,
Wes Montgomery's good.
I listen to Wes a lot, and I listen to Miles Davis, and I like Pat Metheny a lot.
Yeah, dude, those are all good. Have you heard? This is more like those are all really like classics, but this is more of a contemporary jazz, but it's still super weird. Sex Mob, are you familiar with them?
No.
Dude, Sex Mob, yeah, they are very like, I heard them like, and it was like one of those instant things where I was like, this is fucking unique and I love it. It kind of reminds me, not in a music sense, but it kind of reminds me of Frank Zappa, like in the sense of like where the first time I heard Zappa, it was so weird. And I didn't know anything about it. But I was
get what the hell's going on, and
I don't understand this, but I fucking love it.
Yeah.
So check out Sex Mob. Yeah,
All right, I
they're
might make you
pretty
text
fucking
me
cool.
that later.
Yeah, I'll remind you.
I feel like I can remember Sex Mob though. I mean,
Yeah, it's kind of a cool name, and they've got like cool artwork too, and it's like the
okay.
whole package. They've got to be heads for sure. Going off of this, I usually do this with just like an overall basis of what band member do you think you would get along best with, but I want to add some layers to it after we answer this. So out of all the members of Phish, who would you like to hang out with the most?
Okay. Well, I would hang out with Trey because Trey's like God to me, you know.
Yeah,
But if I got to like hang out with somebody, I think me and Fishman would have a good time.
yeah.
Like I feel like me and Fishman could go to the bar and tear that place down.
Yeah, dude, and it's so funny because I mean we're 10 episodes into this podcast, and it seems like every single answer is like Fishman, Fishman for sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
right.
He's the So that's why I wanted to add some layers to it.
I mean,
like
we all love Paige, but like how fun would that be? Yeah.
We'll never know.
Yeah, right.
Sorry, Paige. Okay, so to like expound on that a little bit, with keeping kind of the same question, but out of all of the members, who would you rather go to dinner with?
Paige, I don't know.
Paige? Okay.
No, really, probably Trey.
Trey?
It's like I just have so many questions I would ask Trey, and I'm a guitar player and kind of like, fascinated by his gear and all that stuff, and it's just so
nerd out on the guitar tech.
Exactly.
Stuff. Okay, what about a ball game? Who are you going to go to a ball game with?
Okay, I'd go to a ball game with Paige.
Paige?
It seems like I've seen like pictures of him at the Jets games and stuff, and so
yeah.
Although I guess Trey likes hockey a lot, and I love hockey. So. Actually, never mind. Sorry, Paige. I'm going with Trey again.
But there's no ball in hockey, though.
Oh yeah, I guess you're right.
No, I'm just being funny. Okay. Who would you? I don't even know why I wrote this down. Who would you go to an opera with? Well, scratch opera. Who would you go to a concert with?
A concert with? Oh man, I probably just want to go with all of them. I mean, I guess that's kind of a cop-out answer. We haven't said Mike yet. I'll go with Mike.
Mike, I feel like he's got some.
He has to say.
Yeah, he's got some, and he's got like weird taste and just.
Yeah.
I feel like he would
go see like avant-garde, like who knows what we go see, something weird.
Yeah, and to kind of to touch back on being a quote unquote Phish OG, as our friends have described you, I want to hear some of the stories from obviously the ones that you're comfortable with sharing, but some of your stories or like favorite memories from tours over the year. Hold on. I'm such a horrible host. How many shows have you seen?
71.
71. Okay.
So yeah, what's kind of funny is I'm not even like a huge fan, but I've seen String Cheese 74 times.
Oh.
But I just love Phish. But like Phish decided to break up when I went to college and had lots of free time to go see shows, and then Phish decided to get back together when I joined the real world and had to start working. So and plus Phish doesn't come close to Oklahoma, so I was going to travel.
They did once.
Everybody keeps telling me they're doing it again, but I don't see it. So.
Oh, like with rumors of this tour?
Oh yeah, dude. And I hate tour rumors, but yeah, like people
send them
to me, they're like, "Oh man, Phish is playing at the zoo," and I'm like, I went to Phish.com and clicked tours, and there was nothing. So.
Yeah, dude. The tour rumors get out of hand, and they get out of hand quick. I remember even whenever they were, was that 2012 that they did Oklahoma City. I remember I was in college and I was working at a liquor store, and someone came in and they were like, "Dude, Phish is playing the zoo." My cousin works there, and like they told me and everything, and I'm like, "There's no fucking way."
No way.
Yeah, no fucking way. And then, granted, a month later they released it, and it's like Zoo Amphitheater. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, this is gonna be crazy. And then we got a greatest hits album. So
Right. Whatever. That was fun though. That was a fun day for me.
Dude, it was the best. And then right after was Dick's. So it's like
Yeah.
all your homies
Yeah.
are like here at a hometown show, and then you're taking a road trip the next day.
That was awesome. See, when we did St. Louis the night before, so we got like 5 shows in 6 days. It's great.
Oh shit! This had to have been that same year, right?
Yeah, it was 2012, right? And they played that, like the St. Louis show was a crazy show. I got like 11 first timers. They played Peaches and Regalia Into the Curtain or something like that, like Into Mound, and then like Frankie Says, and like all this like crazy stuff. It's so
Dude,
awesome.
and I remember being at that show, but I don't. It's one of those ones
Oh.
where I don't remember any highlights.
Yeah, they didn't like jam really at all. They played Yim, but other than that, everything's like real quick. But it's just like a real crazy set list.
And the venue was like kind of weird too, right? It was outdoor, but like all of the seats.
No, it was at the Chi-Fets Arena. So this is where the.
Oh, we're probably talking about different years then.
Yeah, I don't know. This one was 2012.
Okay, gotcha. Dude, yeah. See, my memory is so.
It's hard. Like starts like all running together, you know.
I know. I'm like, oh yeah, no, that was this time. It's like, no, not at all. But yeah, to get back to it, some of your favorite, memories from seeing Phish.
Sure. I've got a ton, but let's see. Okay, I'll start with a quick story. So this was in 2003, and we're in Miami. It was just me and Leonard went because, like, all our other friends wanted to go see String Cheese in Chicago, and I was like, fuck that, I'm going to Phish, you know?
Yeah.
So anyway, so me and Leonard went by ourselves, and then just a side note of that is I guess String Cheese played like Give Up the Funk, you know, P-Funk. And the same night, P-Funk came out and played with Phish. So everybody's like, oh my God, String Cheese played P-Funk. And I was like, I saw George Clinton and Bernie Worrell, actually. So whatever, man.
Yeah.
But no, so we were taking the bus back to, this was on the 30th. So it's the night before New Year's Eve. And we're taking the bus back to our hotel. And like, like I was 19, I think. 19. And like sit down on the bus, and the bus is packed. So I just sit down, and I'm sitting right across from like this homeless guy, and he's just gross and big old dirt and nasty, all that stuff.
Sure.
And you know what I'm talking about. But anyway, and so.
Or did he just come from the show?
I mean, maybe, but no. So all of a sudden, he just starts talking to me about how he was born in a test tube and didn't actually have a mother and a father, and he was concocted in a lab and all this stuff. And I was just like, okay, like, I don't even know what I'm supposed to say to this guy, you know?
What do you say? Yeah.
So I just kind of looked at him and was like, and anyway, like I said, this is just a short story. And so anyway, it ended up with, I don't even remember like how it all kind of resolved, but the bus driver kicked him off the bus and made him leave.
Oh.
It's like, oh, thank God. So anyway, so that was the time I met a test tube baby.
Weird. I don't know if I've ever met a test tube baby.
I'm pretty sure it's a first. So, but no, and then like I said, that was just, and then quick story. We were in Alpine Valley, and I was driving up there, and we've driven from Oklahoma, so it's like 13 hours, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And like, have you been to Alpine Valley?
Mm-hmm.
So when you like go in, there's like you pull in, and then there's like kind of like a mile where you drive before you get to like the lot. You know what I'm talking about?
It's like nothing.
Yeah, and so we're like in this part where there's like kind of nothing, and you can tell these dudes are going to the show, but so they're hitchhiking. And I'm like, yeah, man, we're going to the show, just hop in. I shit you not, like a minute, maybe 2 minutes after they get in my car, the timing belt goes out, and all of a sudden my car just starts smoking. There's all the smoke coming up. I'm like, like, what am I going to do? So these poor hitchhikers are like, is it cool if we get out? Whatever, man.
Yeah, like, you've only been in here for 2 minutes.
And they're, they're just like, what the hell? And so anyway, so I ended up, and I was with, it was a friend of mine, ex-girlfriend at the time. So they're just like, don't know what to do. So I was like, just go to the show. So I just grabbed my tickets and my handle of Jack Daniels, left my car on the side of the road and walked to the lot. They actually
Gotta
didn't
make some
tow it.
decisions.
Yeah, and so it was, we're at Alpine. And so after the show, I'm like, well, I guess there's really nothing I can do with my car. How are we going to get there? We ended up meeting these people, and I can't do a Wisconsin accent. If I could, it'd be great. But so her name was Jocelyn from Sheboygan, Wisconsin.
Oh god,
And so,
that's like a
and if you could
that's like
hear Jocelyn
scripted.
and if you could hear her talk in her like Milwaukee, anyway,
Yeah.
and she was either friends with a guy or something who owned a bar and had a party bus and invited us to drive us back to Milwaukee where we were staying in their party bus and then go party with them at the bar. So, hell yeah. So we did
Wicked.
that. And that was the first night. So we go back the second night. By now they have towed my car, which was fine because I was going to have to tow it anyway.
Right.
So anyway, so we went to the second night, and by then we had, been able to like figure out a ride. So got back, and like I say, ended up, it blew out the engine. I wasn't able to get back to Oklahoma for like another week or something like that.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, we had fun in Wisconsin, in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Let's see, and then one last story. I don't bore you too much.
No, that's what this is about, man.
This one's recent. This is Arkansas this year.
Okay.
And I'm just going to kind of give you my whole tale because it was crazy.
Yeah.
So me and Knox and a couple other people drive up there, and we're taking my car. And I'm not staying with them. I'm going to stay with Leonard.
Okay.
And it's like, whatever, I'll just meet you after the show. We'll figure it out. So I'm going down to get something out of my car and managed to lock the keys in the trunk.
Fuck.
And this is at the hotel. So we made it to Arkansas. So we're there. We're at the hotel. And I'm like, shit. Like, I just locked my keys in my car. What am I going to do? So
And they're in the trunk?
They're in the trunk.
That's a whole nother level.
Yeah. And anyway, so I'm like, whatever, I'm going to the show. I'll deal with it tomorrow. So we go to the show, and Knox and I are in the pit like all night long, just having fun. And kind of like right before the encore, we're like, let's go back to the hill and, go meet all our friends. So I get back there, and my best friend, I'm not going to say his name because he's going to be really embarrassed by this story.
Okay. An anonymous Phish friend.
So, yeah. And so, I mean, whatever. For those who know me, I was the best man at his wedding. Anyway. So anyway, I haven't seen him the whole show. And they're playing Santos. And he is so drunk that he comes up to me, grabs me, and was like, "Say it to me," just yelling, and then just falls backwards. And I was just like, so I like kind of help him up, and then his wife's standing over there, and I've known her, like she lived, 6 houses down from me from 6th grade to whatever. So I've known her my whole life too. Mm-hmm. Anyway, and she looks at me, and like, I'm like, what the hell is wrong? And she goes, you can't leave me alone with him. Like, I need help. And I'm like, seriously? Like, okay, thinking whatever. So the show ends, and he's so drunk he can't even stand up. And he's like 6'2" or 6'1". I'm 5'7", So I'm trying to pick this dude up and carry him. And so I have to like drag him up the hill. And then there's like these super steep stairs. And it's like, oh God. Here we go. So somehow, and like, you got to see him walk. And oh yeah, and I forgot to mention, he's got a Steal Your Face shirt with the Brahms logo in the middle.
With the Brahms logo?
With the Brahms logo.
Dude, so, you're gonna have to tell me where to get one of those, because
I don't know where. I told him I want one too, and he's like, my friend just made them. And anyway,
for those of you,
I'll send it to you.
For those of you that are listening that are not in Oklahoma, that don't know what Brahms is, it's like a fast food burger place / grocery store, and it's all local, I guess, but it's
the best. Brahms
it's the
awesome.
best.
Yeah.
The absolute best. I have to get one of those. Okay, continue.
So he's in his Steal Your Face Brahms shirt. He's sweating like profusely because it was so hot too. Like, and I'm just carrying this guy, and he's wobbling, can't stand all that stuff. Well, we somehow managed to get down the stairs without falling. And I feel bad for the poor people below us because the whole time I was like, don't fucking fall. Don't fucking, you know what I mean?
Like you fall, you're on your own, bud.
Yeah. So I get him down and we get to the lot and I'm like, all right, we got outside. Thank God. In the meantime, let's remember that I locked my keys in my car.
Right.
Our other friend who drove them, he had left, just kind of like whatever, you guys will find a ride, I guess. So he wasn't there, so they didn't have a ride. And he didn't have his phone because he left his phone in somebody else's car. So we were like, shit, what are we going to do? So I'm trying to figure out how we're going to get a ride while carrying this dude. And then he decides that he wants to hit some balloons. And I'm just like, no. Like,
you're done.
However, suddenly I get, and this is my fault, suddenly I get this bright idea that maybe a balloon will actually help him out. It didn't.
No. Super wasted. Hey, maybe some nitrous will help.
Yeah, it didn't. I don't know if it made it worse, but it definitely didn't help. But so we're sitting there doing that to appease him,
Mm-hmm.
And I just to, not whatever, like I hit the balloon too, whatever. Anyway, so we're sitting there doing that. And there's, if you look like 10 feet kind of down, there's, those big steel sewer covers?
Sure, yeah.
Like you lift them up and you go in the sewer. All of a sudden, I kind of hear it moving. It moves over and this dude pops up. And he's who I
out
call
of it?
The sewer wook, yeah. And he's got like these nasty dreads and like his shirt's off and he's crawling through the sewer. And so he goes down. So it's like this, like here's the sewer and there's like an embankment. And he keeps like going down there and going to the sewer, coming back up. And there's I don't know what his Instagram is, but my friend Dick had videotaped it and has it on Instagram. You'll have, if you ask Leonard, I'm sure he can play out.
Yeah, we need to find
anyway.
that.
And so I'm dealing with this guy, sucking down his balloon, can't even think. Sewer wook's popping up out of nowhere. And I'm like, shit, how are we going to get home? And I'm like, oh yeah, like I'm going to go stay with Leonard anyway. So we start trying to call them, trying to figure out what to do. And I happen to run into him in the parking lot. And we're like, and I'm like, Kyle, I was like, I need some help, dude. Like, look what I'm going on. I was like, can Lydia drive us? And so she's like, yeah, we'll drive you. So after it took them a while because I think they like forgot where they parked. And so it took them like forever to find their car.
Yeah.
And I finally get my buddy to the corner where he's like now at this point is like drunk passing out, and I'm like pouring water on his face, like trying to wake him up.
Yeah. So, like don't puke.
So, yeah. So exactly. So finally Lydia pulls up. And I have to like, throw him in the car. And so we get him in the car and I'm sitting next to him. And all of a sudden I see he's gonna puke. And he starts going like this. And he goes and starts throwing him inside of his shirt. Dude. And so,
I respect the effort. I mean, at least try.
And I'm sitting next to him and I'm like, don't do that. Don't do that, So I'm reaching across trying to get the window down and I'm like jamming his head out the window.
Ruin the Brahms shirt, man.
Yeah, dude. Like, I wonder if he threw the Brahms shirt away because it is covered in vomit. like covered.
Damn it.
So, and like all over the car, and all that stuff.
And this is Lydia's car?
Yes. And of course, Lydia's famous last words were, don't puke in my car. And he did.
Damn it.
So we get back to the hotel, open the door, dude falls out. I have to carry him through the hotel and all that stuff, get him back in. Anyway, so the best part, and I just learned this recently. So he did pay like Venmo, Lydia cash to get her car detailed or whatever. Like a month later, she just sold her car and bought a new car.
It's like, fuck it, dude. Not dealing with this.
I saw her the other day and I was like, you sold your car?
It's like, I can't do it.
Anyway, so that was Phish, Arkansas. That was That's fun.
Dude, that's one of those nights, man. And it makes sense because like that's opening night of tour. Everybody's super
Opening night, and
excited.
like I said, like it was just so hot. And so, well, then the best part is he tried to tell everybody, and still to this day he will. He'd be like, I only had a couple beers. I'm like, fuck, you did.
A couple dozen.
Yeah. Like, Knox said she saw him chugging a margarita.
Hey man, there's a picture of me. I forget where this is. I want to say it's Deer Creek, and I forget what year, maybe 2011. But this was one of those shows for me to where we had like a handle of like Captain Morgan or something between like 4 or 5 of us. And I'm just like, it's like 2 p.m. and we're like pregame and everybody's like, cooking and shit. And I'm doing nothing but Captain Morgan. Just boom, boom,
Having too
boom.
much fun.
Yeah. Passed out before the show. They wake me up to go to the show, and I'm still just like, I'm like looking through people. Like I'm that, like the eyes are glassed, gone.
Don't really know what's going on.
Gone. And we get into the show, and obviously like my friends are like taking pictures of me and stuff because I'm not being like crazy. I haven't thrown up at this point, and I'm just like on the lawn, and I'm like leaned back and like being, everybody thinks that they're a comedian whenever they're like super wasted. So I'm like sitting there holding court thinking I'm the funniest dude ever. It's probably just gibberish. And there's so many pictures of me just like looking at the camera like, and then the second set started, I like wake up because I'm taking a nap during set break, wake up and go to like the side, like where there's a fence, yak in one of the trash cans and look up, and there's a cop standing there. And I'm just like holding on to the trash can. I'm like looking at him, and he's like, "You good?" And I go, "Yes, sir." And just
yes, sir. Thank
booked
you,
it
sir.
back. I was like, "Yes, sir. I am, and I will see you never." Dude, so I know what it's like to be that guy. I've been that guy, man. It's if you haven't been that guy, you're not living.
I don't know. I think like I always think I compose myself pretty well. Who knows if that's really true or not.
I'll tell you who knows. Your friends. Ask them.
They're gonna listen to this and be like, "You liar."
Yeah. It's happened to the best of us, man.
Right.
But now it's kind of fun to like. I've seen Phish sober. I've seen Phish fucked up.
Yeah.
And seeing Phish sober is kind of underrated. Yeah,
it really is. Like I quit over this last summer. Like I quit doing like drinking and everything, and started eating healthy and all that stuff. And so we went to, we did Arkansas and then Dick's, and then the Phoenix show was like the first beer that I had, and I only had like 2. And I'm like, man, like I just did 5 Phish shows sober. Like,
yeah,
it's great.
Yeah, it is. And that's like
I did 2015 Dick's sober too.
And that's one of the things, like going back to, jumping off point of like being a purist. Like if you can't see Phish sober, like if you're going there to do Molly or acid or whatever, and the band is just like an enhancement to like your trip.
You just want to do drugs.
Yeah. You just want to you're just partying. Like you're not here to see Phish. This could be any band. So we're also purists together in that sense.
Exactly. I like it. Like I just heard that term the other day. I was like, okay, I guess I can go with that.
Yeah. Purist, man. One last thing before we wrap. This is a new question. It's kind of along the lines of the same thing of, what is your favorite jam? But like, what is your favorite, not era of Phish? We're not talking 1.0, 2.0. Mm-hmm. What is your favorite year of Phish?
Yeah. Okay. Before I answer this, so I don't know if anybody's told you this. So how I listen to Phish is probably a little bit different than most people do.
Okay.
I listen to tours. So like right now I'm listening to 2012 Summer. I'm on like the 23rd show.
Okay.
And that's how I do it. And so like I'll listen to the whole tour, and then when I'm done, I'll listen to another tour, and that's kind of how I do it. So and at this point, I've listened to every Phish show from like 93 to now.
Gotcha.
So anyway, so my point with that being is I've listened to it all. Like everybody says, Fall '97 is just the best.
It's great.
And I feel like, and that's probably my favorite too, because like I said, that's when it gets kind of that mix between the funk and all the psychedelia and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But if you haven't listened to Summer '93, it's so good. And like, there's not like all these monster jams, but it's just like the way they play. It's kind of in and out everything, and that's the Summer 2012 I'm listening to kind of reminds me of that. But yeah, Summer '93.
Really?
Yeah, it's not. I mean, it's not on that level, but like, there's not a whole lot of big jams, but there'll be like, like say, I was listening to this twist the other day, and it's like 8 minutes long. Like, goes into this really weird, crazy thing for a little bit before it goes out, and then it goes into like this Piper that's only like 10 minutes long, but goes into this real crazy little thing. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how it is. There's a lot of songs, but there are little parts within the songs that are just so good, and then they kind of add up into a whole show. Or the shows are just great. But yeah,
dude, I agree with you, man. It's one of those things like the early anything pre 94 really. You're not getting type 2 jams per se. Like you're not going to find any like 18-minute song. But I'm with you. Like one of my favorite eras is spring '93.
Yeah.
And it's
those shows are good.
And it's not hard to describe, but it's almost like I think it speaks to that type of music that we were talking about, like whether it's like metal or just like even like rock, just like hard rock in general, like whether it's like Mike's tone or just like how aggressively they're playing. They're so like and they're still like early in their career, like they're finding that like groove and that pocket.
I think Trey shreds a lot more
so much more.
Like
the energy
shred now. Like,
yeah,
that doesn't mean I don't love his guitar playing and what he does, because in a lot of ways I think Phish is great, like better now. But Trey doesn't shred like that.
It's a different type. Yeah, it's
exactly
not comparable.
Yeah.
And like back in like '93, like they're still proving something. Like they're playing like their life depends on it. They're like, okay, we've got enough steam.
Like just wrote Rift, and are like playing all that stuff, and anyway.
Dude, yeah, the '93 era. If anybody that's listening isn't familiar with spring or summer '93,
listen to it. It's great.
Do yourself a favor, and if you don't got time, I feel like I'm on the board of directors for Phish Just Jams app. But like, if you don't got the time, just go to the Phish Just Jams app and click on.
Yeah, I'm excited to look it up.
Yeah, click on Machine Gun Trey and then click on '93, and boom, you'll hear some fucking rippers, dude.
I can't believe I didn't know about that. That's cool. I'm excited about
it. Yeah, no, I found out about it this week, and I like texted, everyone. I was like, "Have you guys heard about this?" Like, and just like the fact that you can, I can tell that it took so much time because of how many categories and shit that there are. I'm like, dude, this is dope. And a lot of them are audience recordings, obviously. But if the quality doesn't bother you, it's worth the download, and it's free. So there you go. There's my plug for them. Again. All right, dude.
I love this guy.
yeah. Promote our shit. Dude, unless you have anything else, thanks for, taking the time and being on the show. Yeah. I know it's Friday. And your birthday is your birthday today or tomorrow?
It's actually on Sunday, but we're going to go have a couple drinks with some friends tomorrow and stuff. So it's tied up tomorrow, and then.
Nice. Yeah. Well, dude, enjoy your birthday. Thanks for taking the time. I'm glad we finally got to, sit down and talk. We know each other now.
Yeah, man, for sure.
Whenever we see each other at some shows, we'll have this as a jumping off point, man.
Maybe they'll announce summer tour one day.
Yeah, any day now. They just announced tab shows, like 3 or 4 of them.
I saw that, and we were actually, because my girlfriend's never been to Red Rocks and really wants to go to Red Rocks.
Dude, I haven't either.
Like, let's go to tab, but we're going to Florida for like a week, and it's just kind of bad timing.
Yeah. Life happens sometimes like that.
It does.
Like, shit.
Yeah, my other vacation.
So. Right on, man. Well, thank you so much for taking the time again and, being on the show, and I'll see you at a show soon.
Yeah, man, for sure. It's been fun talking to you.
Yeah, you too, man. Thanks, Pugs.